Hi everyone. I hope you're awake, and you had very good time last night. And thank you to be there. My name is Sylvain Cortes. I'm working for a French company, as you can hear with my lovely accent, which is based in France, obviously, but having operation worldwide, and it's named Hackuity. And we are doing VOC, Vulnerability Operations Center. So if you don't know what is a Vulnerability Operations Center, you can check on the internet and so on. I had different life in my career, and I was doing freelance during almost 20 years. And what I was doing, it was a lot of missions around AD security, Kerberos security, and LDAP security. And during this period, I was doing a lot of stuff around backdooring, how you can hunt and how you can create backdoor in AD or in LDAP. And it is exactly what we will talk about today. So we will do a brief introduction to be sure everyone is on the same page, and then we will jump on the backdooring thing. So just as an introduction, how it works. I mean, how attackers are performing attacks against AD. You know that you have this attack path, but the thing which is interesting here is when you are doing malicious stuff against AD, you are not using CVE. Because when you are talking about vulnerabilities in an attack path, usually you think about CVE. But AD doesn't host any CVE. Windows do that. So what happens is the attackers will use misconfigurations inside AD. So you have this typical attack path mixing unpatched CVE plus AD misconfiguration. But the common point on all these different attack paths is at the end, you will go to the domain dominant status. And usually, the attacker wants to create a backdoor. Why you want to do that? Easy, to come back later. So what is an AD backdoor? I mean, very simple definition for me today. That's a way to come back later. But you need to understand, to create a real nice backdoor in AD, you need to have domain dominant status in AD. So we will not talk today about how you can get there. We will not talk today about how you can reach this domain dominant status. But keep in mind, when you have the domain dominant status, you can do almost everything inside AD. During my different missions, I received, every time I was doing, incident response related to AD, the same question. Can I keep my AD, or do I need to reinstall my AD? That's the question. And the thing is, nobody can answer. Why? Just because of the backdoors. Because for sure you have backup. But let's imagine the attacker will be there like from 6 months. He creates something and you back up the something. So now you are under domain domination from the attacker. And you want to restore, okay, because everything is encrypted and stuff like that. But you get back the backdoor in your environment. So this question is really impossible to answer. And I was really, specialized in trying to find backdoor in AD. And even for me, it was like impossible to answer. Because you have so many ways to create backdoors in AD. So we will explore some ways. So we will start with some easy thing, and we will finish with some more advanced backdoor in AD. And for sure, I will not coming back to the basic thing. If you have any question, please ask at the end of the presentation. So we will start with the SID attribute manipulation. So just to introduce what is a SID attribute, that's a simple thing. It's usually used when you are doing AD migration. So you have, for example, this user, which is on domain A, and you want to migrate this one on domain B. And what happened is he will change his own SID because it's two different objects, right? So you have this user, you migrate it in a new domain, but he has a new SID, so he's not able anymore to go on the domain A and, for example, access file sharing, documents, SharePoint, whatever. So how you can provide this, you will be able to integrate in the new object the old value. So in fact, in the new domain, this object has two SID, the new one and the old one. And it means like when the user will authenticate, he will get two SID inside the token, and he will be able to get back to the older resources and do whatever. So how you modify this? How you modify this value? SIDhistory is a specific attribute in AD. So what I mean by that is it's a protected attribute, so you are not able to go there and just modify with text. But you can use a lot of different tools to do that. And for sure, you are able to use migration tool for doing this kind of manipulation. You can use as well stuff like Mimikatz, doing DC shadow plus DC sync. You can use all the migration tools, including ADMT, which is provided by Microsoft itself. So at the end, if you are in a domain dominant status, it's not so difficult to change this value. But the thing is, and it's crazy because it seems weird if you think about how Microsoft designed this. The thing is, it's not limited to user SID, and it's even not limited to SID which are not in the directory. So what you can do is just picking an SID in your directory and put this value in this user. So at the end, the user has a lot of different SIDs inside this SIDhistory, and when he authenticates, he will get inside this token all these SIDs. So here you have an example. So this user, Hal, he was doing different things, and he opened the MMC. So everybody, I think, know what is the MMC. And if you have a look on what happened with this process, so for sure you will find the HAL SID, but if you have a look on the application container SID, here you will see someone else. Just because in this example, I take this SID from DC admin, I put it in the SIDhistory of HAL, and now HAL have ability to do what DC admin is able to do usually. Here you have another example, but I'm not using a user SID, I'm using a group SID, and the group is enterprise admin. But the thing is, if you have a look on the enterprise admin groups, Sylvain is not part of this one. So that's really interesting, because you may think, okay, if I want to check who is enterprise admin, I will check the group. Yes, but you need to think about different things like SIDhistory and various other things inside AD. So have a look only on the group is not enough, because this guy, even if it's not member of this group, he gets exactly all the permissions related to enterprise admin group. How you can check it in your own environment? You have different ways. You can use, for sure, VBScript, PowerShell, whatever. All the AD security tools are usually able to check these kind of things. You know, tools like Pinkcastle or Purple Knight, these kind of tools. And you can do some LDAP query as well. So you can query AD to say, hey, I want to check all the users which have a value inside SIDhistory attribute. If you don't know Lex, Lex, for me, is the best LDAP browser you can use when you are doing LDAP query against AD. So if you don't know it, have a look on this one. Managed by attribute manipulation. So managed by is, again, a specific attribute. You know, you have a lot of specific attributes inside AD. Managed by is designed to make easier delegation. So what you will do, you will say, hey, this group or this object, I want to delegate this to another object inside AD. And here you have an example with a group. And if you are going in this tab, Managed by, you will see you can put something there, and you can decide if this something is able to update or not the member list chip. So it's, for your information, it's something which appears with Exchange, and Microsoft decided to keep it inside the second directory for them, which is AD. So you have two options there if you want to use this Managed by to create a backdoor. First, you can put just a user again. So what you will do, you will put a user account, you will set it as a Managed by attribute, and for sure you will check the fact that this guy is able to manage membership. You are able as well to put some special accounts, and perhaps you know about the well-known security principles. So the well-known security principles in AD are specific, let's say, accounts or principles, which are able to mimic something. And you have a very interesting one, which is, sorry, anonymous logon. So as you can imagine, if you put this principle, anonymous logon, there, it means everybody, including people who did not authenticate, will be able to manage this group. But when you create a backdoor, you want to mask your action. It's not enough to just pick the object and put it in the Managed by. So usually, when you want to mask your action, or mask some modification, or mask some access, you will use the deny. Deny is like really dangerous. So you will open the group, going to the security tab, and for sure you can do it by PowerShell or whatever, but for presentation reason, I just put the screen. So you go in the security tab of this group, and you have a specific attribute there, which is read Managed by. What does it mean if I do a deny on this one? It means nobody will be able to see the value, including administrators, because everyone includes administrators. So now, what happened if I'm doing that? So I put Kaiser Soze in the Managed by attribute, and I deny the access on the Managed by attribute for everyone in my domain. You will get something like that, which is exactly the same situation as nobody was there. So it's almost impossible, it's impossible to check it when you open it using the GUI. So Kaiser Soze itself is not able to see the value, but Kaiser Soze has the ability to change the membership. So now you have a group, which is, for example, a domain admin group or another group. We will see it later. And nobody is able to see that this guy is able to change the content. But when you want to activate the backdoor, Kaiser Soze will be able to add himself or someone else inside the group. So how you can check it? Just monitor every new deny AC in your AD. I mean, you may think, okay, deny is part of what I'm doing when I'm doing AD administration. Yes and no. Usually, you try to not use the deny for a lot of reasons. And if you want to check this kind of manipulation, I recommend highly to check if someone used a new deny ACE somewhere in your directory. Now let's jump on perhaps a more advanced backdoor using gPLink. As an introduction, you may know that when you create a new domain, a new AD domain, by design, you create two GP. The demote domain control policy and the default domain policy. And for sure, the default domain policy is linked at the domain level, and the default domain controller's policy is linked at the domain controller OU level. And that's by design. You don't have the choice. So what you can do is you start from, for example, the default domain controller's policy, and you can copy-paste it. So you just copy, paste, but you keep exactly the same name, but you change the L to a pipe. So you see here, I'm coming from a L to a pipe. Trust me, here I'm putting your eyes on it. Trust me, if you are opening the MMC, or even if you are doing PowerShell and you get your pipe, you will see nothing. That's the first step. Second step is you will modify, you will, let's say, set what you want to activate when you will activate your backdoor inside this GP. So just as an example, because you can do everything with a GP. Here, you can provide access to the DC as a logon locally, logon through remote, debug program, which is perhaps the most higher stuff you can provide to someone on a Windows system. So you can choose to provide permissions, you can choose to execute script, you can choose to modify registry, because again, you can do almost everything with a GP on the system, okay? So here, I just decide to put Kaiser-Soze providing permissions, advanced permission on all these systems. Third step is to keep the new UID you have for you, let's name it the pipe GPO. When you create a GP, you have a specific UID which is created as well, which is this one, unique UID. Why? Because in fact, when you create a GP, you create two objects. You create what we name the GPT, which is the settings of the GP, which is stored in SYSVol at the file system level, and you create an object in the directory. But you need to have a link between both. This link is made by the system by using this unique ID. So you copy-paste this one, and you keep it somewhere. And now, you will modify gPLink. Who knows what is a gPLink? Wow, you are tired. Too much rum and stuff like that yesterday. gPLink. Okay, so when you decide to make the link between a GP and an OU, in fact, what you do behind the scene is modify the gPLink attribute. So on each OU, you have a gPLink attribute, and in this gPLink attribute, you name all the GP which are applied on this OU. So for sure, when you are doing it using the GUI, you don't see that. You see the GUI, you say, hey, I want to apply this GP on this one, but behind the scene, you modify the value at the OU level. And as all the different attributes in AD, you can provide access or not to the gPLink attribute. So what I'm doing there, I'm just going at the domain controller level OU. And I will specify that someone, for example, Kaiser-Soze, is able to read and write the gPLink attributes. Only that. And again, remember, Kaiser-Soze is not part of the domain admin group. It's not part of the enterprise admin group. I just provide to him a specific right. So now Kaiser-Soze will be able to change which GP will apply on this OU. So the last thing you may want to do for this backdoor is to mask the existence of the new GP, because now we have two GP. Remember, we have the default domain controllers policy, and we have the copy-paste with the pipe. So we have two. But I don't want to activate the backdoor right now, so I want to mask it. So what I will do, I will go to my pipe GP, and I will specify that only Kaiser-Soze and the system are able to see the GP. And again, if you remove everything and you just put system and Kaiser-Soze, it means the domain admin is not able to see it. Why I'm putting the system? Any idea? And not only Kaiser-Soze? No? Can you repeat? Close. The system needs to be able to see it for, let's say, one major reason. I want this GP replicated. If the system is not able to see it, this GP will only host on this one, on this domain controller, where I am in session. But I want to replicate it everywhere. So the system needs to see it to do the replication. Second reason is I want my backdoor backup. So I want to be sure that the system will be able to see it during the backup process, because usually all the backup software are using system to do their shit, okay? So here I'm putting system and Kaiser-Soze. Now, these two accounts are the only one we are able to see it. And if you do PowerShell, it will be exactly the same, for sure. Only Kaiser-Soze is able to see it, and the system. Okay, now I want to activate it. So you can create this kind of backdoors and wait like during 6 months, 1 year. And the day you want to activate it, you only have to do one thing. You will go to the domain controller, OU. You will go to the attribute editor. You will find the gPLink attribute, and you will remove the classic default domain controller policies, and you will provide, remember, the UID you copy-paste somewhere. That's it. Immediately, what will happen? It's all the different permissions I provide in my pipe GP will apply, and my guy, Kaiser-Soze, which is not, again, part of the domain admin, will be able to log on all the DCs and do whatever he wants. So remember, backdooring will never use the classic domain admin or enterprise admin group, never. It's too obvious. You may want to have something which you can mask, something which is not, an evidence. How you can check these kind of things? You can use what we name the well-known group policies value. Who knows what is that? Nobody? When you install, remember, we say that when you create a new AD domain, by design you create these two GP. And remember, a GP have a UID. But for these two, the UID, it's always the same. It's hard-coded in the installation process. What does it mean? It means if you have a look on your environment, and if you have a look on another environment, and if you check the UID of these GPs, they will have exactly these two values. So the only way to check it is to check that what you think is a default domain controller policy has this value as a UID. Okay? So, just to summarize everything and make some mix backdooring thing. So let's imagine now you have this Kaiser SOSI, and this Kaiser SOSI is able to manage a group, and you mask the fact that Kaiser SOSI is able to manage the group. And this group, you provide permission, is able to read and write the gPLink at the domain controller policy level. And now, soon you put this guy in this group, he will be able to modify the gPLink, then modify the value in the gPLink attributes, remove the default domain controller's policy, and put the pipe GPO instead. And at the end, Kaiser SOSI will get this kind of access, for example. Okay? So here you mix the manage by and the gPLink method. So you see, usually when you find a backdoor in AD, it's not a simple thing. It's always different methods which are used and linked to make something which is not possible to see. Keep that in mind. So it's why it's not so simple to answer the first question I provide to you at the beginning of this presentation: do I need to reinstall AD or not? Nobody can answer. Some takeaways: if you never think about it, and if you like, the technology and directories and identity, trust me, AD backdooring is really fun. You can have good time doing that, trying to even create your own backdoor, understand how the attackers are doing these kind of things. Second thing, you can't really rely on your backup when we are talking about AD if you have, for example, a ransomware attack. Just because, again, nobody knows if you have something in your backup. And a backdoor could be really hard to see. And final tip, have a look on the deny. Because for sure, you may want to use the deny when you will deploy the tiering in your AD, the free tiers. That's part of the design, using the deny for some accounts. But it's a one-time thing. You will not use the deny every day. So I will recommend to monitor if someone uses a deny somewhere in your directory. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any questions. Yeah. For a know-you? Oh, in this example, it was domain admin, right? But you can create backdoor at a lower level, not only at the domain dominance level. Here, I just wanted to illustrate the fact that you can mask things at the domain dominance level stages. But you're right, you can create, let's say, smaller backdoor, which are in tier 2 or tier 3, and you don't need to be domain admin in this case. You're right. Other questions? Thank you.